Welcome, everybody. I'm joined by Matt once again, and we're here to talk about some retro card combos. So these are cards that might have synergy with each other, or sort of some good combos to pick up on. We're going to do 5. This isn't for a specific format, but obviously some of the cards are going to come from a range of formats. But these are some kind of tricks to think about as far as combos. So Matt, do you want to, or I'm sorry, Matt, you go by Matthew? Matthew.
Yeah, Matthew's great. So, yeah, this is just some light side and dark side combos. Obviously non-exhaustive, but things you might see when you're playing the different retro formats and how you might leverage them. So the first up I have for light side is the Super Falcon, right? So you may have heard things referred to the Super Falcon. We start off with Captain Han Solo. Some pretty restrictive deploy requirements. He can only go on Falcon or a couple other places, but yeah, it's 3 to the power, adds a battle destiny on the Falcon, and can cause your opponent to redraw. So that's your 1 destiny. You get an additional +1 destiny with Leia here, who's going to be adding a destiny with Han. And then you're going to have the 4 ability on the Falcon to draw your 3rd battle destiny. And importantly, you have 7 ability that gets around Zuckuss and Misthunter, which is a pretty common dark side ship in the format. So in this one, you've got 7 power, 3 destinies, and immune to attrition less than 5. And they basically need, to add up to 5 or get 2 5s in a row because Han has the ability to cause them to redraw. When you add in something like Back to Tank, you can have a pretty unbeatable Space Force, right? Because if for some reason you get outpowered because 7 plus 2 destinies or 3 destinies is pretty good, but maybe you have a little bit of battle damage. You stick one of these pilots and Back to Tank and rebuy them. It's a force to be reckoned with. So the only thing to watch out for is maybe Imperial Command when you're going in expecting to draw 3 destinies, but your opponent with this used interrupt limits you to 1. Can be kind of a nasty surprise. So in a recent game, I had the lone Falcon, Super Falcon here. I tracked 3 6s to the top and fought 3 Star Destroyers with pilots and came out on top. So my number 1 combo here is the light side Super Falcon.
So, and any tips on getting out Leia and Han? I mean, it just seems like it might be kind of situational draw all 3. Is there any tips on getting them out?
Sure. Well, you could consider squadron assignments.
Yeah.
Depending on your activation platform, light side activation is pretty good. Late game, you might get like 14 or 16 force a turn. You could consider tunnel vision, right, which lets you look through your force pile for any card and take it into your hand. So that can kind of find you the missing piece. It might take you a little bit of time to put it together, but Han in the Falcon is a destiny by himself, and if you add just any other pilot, you're up to 2. So you can kind of build it piece by piece and build up to the Super Falcon.
Awesome. Well, let's go on to the next combo here.
Sure. The second one, this might get some eye rolls if you play this, but this is the much anger in him and responsibility of command dark side combo. So much anger in him says deploy on a rebel at the end of each opponent's battle phases. If they could have fought there and they didn't, they lose 4 force. So you might be like, okay, well, just incentivizes them to battle every turn. And actually, and if they lose that character due to the battle, you're going to lose your effect. So pretty situational. But if you include responsibility of command, which says use 2 force to deploy on any war room at a rebel base, target a high forfeit rebel or an opponent's leader, they can't battle or force drain there. So you stick this on something like, Obi-Wan or Luke, or maybe even like Han in his Super Falcon, right? Now you have the ability to block their battles and force range, which is good by itself. But if you have much anger in him, they have presence, but they can't fight. So they're losing 4 force a turn. Of course, you need a rebel war room, which they often run the Yavin 4 war room for activation. But, you can stick in your own Hoth war room, the dark side one that you might consider running. So kind of a 3-card combo here, but it's going to lock out one of their key characters from force draining or battling and cause them to lose 4 force a turn. And I recommend if you try this combo, do it in a pre-Death Star 2 format, because in Death Star 2, everybody's running Honor the Jedi, which would reduce the force loss from 4 to 2, right? So you got a 3-card combo here that takes a little work to set up, and you don't want to have your damage output halved. So I would consider doing this in a pre-Death Star 2 format.
Okay. Let's talk about Honor of the Jedi. What an annoying card, but a great card.
Yes. So I like the intention of it, right? So Decipher was still trying to figure things out at the beginning. The NPE, like the bad experience outside of battle damage cards, like the inserts, are really annoying. Unfortunately, it locked down a lot of the objective damage, like Hunt Down and Bring Him Before Me. So in Jabba's Palace Seal deck, they basically came out a card that canceled the objective version of Honor the Jedi. But yeah, you definitely want to be on the lookout for this in Death Star 2 format, because although it can't technically be started, you can start an effect which can grab this right away.
All right.
That's my combo 2.
Combo number 3.
So this is disarmed, and light side and dark side have a disarmed. So if both players have a character weapon present in a sight, during anybody's control phase, you can play this. They lose their weapon, power -1, and can't do weapons. So with EPPs, characters with built-in weapons, you will frequently have characters with weapons on both sides. And it doesn't have to be a weapon card. It can be a built-in weapon. And it doesn't have to be a lightsaber either, right? You can have Han with heavy blaster rifle. That's a character with a weapon. So, the light side one, pretty good, but dark side has a couple additional tricks. The original Dr. Evans says, if somebody gets hit in battle, you can cause them to get lost right away or disarmed. So you can have him and one of your characters with weapons at a site, and then, during your control phase or your opponent's control phase, you disarm a character, which will instantly kill them, right? No draw. You can kill, Jedi Luke with a lightsaber instantly by using disarmed. And then you've kind of turned the tide of the site, right? So you can go into a really good battle and, surprise them that way. Another thing to keep in mind is you could consider using the 2 droid bounty hunters that have weapons. So IG-88 and Forlom, they have built-in weapons. So say your opponent has Jedi Luke at a site that's draining, you stick IG-88 down and they can't be battled because they're droids, but you still satisfy the disarmed conditions. So, during your turn or your opponent's turn, you disarm them, you knock off the lightsaber, you reduce their drain, and they can't really do much about it, right? Because you can just plop your guy down and they can't fight it because you don't have presence. So that's my third combo.
Disarmed is an incredibly annoying card with EPPs because frankly it's sort of timeless. Like it goes all the way to Thief Palace, right? Like you can use it on like Qui-Gon with Saber. So
right.
It's I think a really good card.
And from the original set, there were some misses in the original set, but they had a lot of good cards that stood the test of time.
Yeah, that's definitely one of them. Also, just a great looking card. Just throw that out there. Like there has to be points for like how it looks. Great image chosen for both.
Absolutely.
All right, combo number 4.
Yes, my fourth combo is Order to Engage Shenanigans. So this is one of the light side cards that causes force loss outside of combat. I guess the idea is, the rebels are small and scrappy and, they need ways of doing damage outside of combat because they're on the run for the Empire or whatever. I don't know how that translated into gameplay, but anyway, this is run pretty commonly. It says, use 2 force to deploy on your opponent's side of the table. At the end of each opponent's battle phase, if they didn't fight everywhere they could have, they lose 3 force, which is significant, right? So if they have 2 potential battles, they have to pick a battle on both sides or else they're losing force. And you can run that fairly, right? So your opponent has a guy at a site, you plop a couple of characters down and then you just wait. So they need to either fight or, run away and lose force. It also helps fight against the opponent from spreading out, right? If they spread out on multiple locations, you can just move over and then they either have to pick a losing battle or run away. But you can also do unfair things with it, right? So this is, if they have presence and they didn't fight, that doesn't actually mean they had the opportunity to battle. So for instance, if your opponent puts down 1 character and you rebel barrier, which you're probably playing anyway because it's very good, they have presence but can't fight, and they're going to lose the 3 cards. So kind of just a combination of 2 cards you might be playing anyway, And I think the game really rewards knowledge of your cards and decks. So, you might have had these cards in your deck anyway, but the more you play, the more synergies you see behind the cards. Watch out for Point Man, though. So this is a dark side card that it cancels a bunch of things. Scramble sees a little bit of play, but it's mainly just to cancel Order to Engage because it's so good. So, you might have set up a situation where you think you're going to get some free damage in, and then they can play this interrupt to cancel your Order to Engage. So that's my combo number 4.
All right, our last combo, which I think Clash of Sabers is probably one of the most well-designed cards, I think, in sort of the retro format.
Right. This is the ultimate of the more you play, the more you learn. So we have Clash of Sabers, and you are beaten. Now, they have some other effects, but the most common one is similar to both of them. So it says, use 2 force to target a character present with your warrior with a lightsaber. So you're probably using, Darth Vader with lightsaber, or Obi-Wan or Luke with lightsaber. Again, it doesn't have to be a lightsaber weapon card. It can just be the built-in weapon. Target cannot move or battle until end of your next turn. So you might be like, okay, seems all right, but there's all kinds of tricks you can get into this. So the very basic, I'm just learning how to use this. I hear it's good. Is say your opponent has Darth Vader with a lightsaber and Tarkin at a sight, right? That's a pretty hard to get a nut to crack there. But you play Obi-Wan with a lightsaber, Clash of Saber, the Vader, fight the Tarkin. Tarkin can't draw Battle Destiny. You can probably hit him with a lightsaber. You cause a bunch of overflow, right? So that's, the beginner's Clash of Sabers. You could also use it defensively, right? They're coming down, they're mounting forces. You Clash of Saber one of their guy, and then they're like, okay, well, maybe I don't want to battle after all. So you can kind of use it defensively. But the tricks don't stop there. So here's another use of, again, Clash of Sabers, or you are beaten. You go into combat, hit them with a weapon, right? Maybe the lightsaber that you have. And then you can play this, and it excludes them from the battle, which takes them out of the battle right away, and they're immediately lost, right? So say your opponent has Luke with lightsaber and, EPP Han. That's 2 destiny. But if you go in, hit the Luke, and then exclude him from the battle, now he's gone. He doesn't get his ability, his power, his weapon firing, right? And then you're reducing the destiny. So it can actually eliminate a character partway through the battle. Against a single character, it actually even ends the battle. So here's a situation. Imagine you go in, you have, Luke with lightsaber, and then you go against the Emperor, right? So the Emperor is fully immune to attrition, and you have no immunity. You go in, you get a little lucky, you hit the Emperor, you clash. Now, since the Emperor is the only character in this situation, the battle's over, and you didn't get to the attrition segment where you probably would have lost your Luke. So you just can prematurely end the battle against a character that is by itself. And it works even if you don't hit the character, right? So bring him before me is probably going to start Emperor turn 1. You have the opportunity to try to go in and fight with your Luke with lightsaber. And, you go in, Emperor has high defense, you miss. Well, again, if it's the only character in battle, you can just exclude the character, even if they're not hit, and end the battle. The final thing that you can do with this, again, Clash of Saber specific, is works with Order to Engage, right? They play their one character, you Clash of Sabers, they can't fight, they lose to Order Engage here. And that's just like one of the functions of the card. If you take a look, it actually has 3 functions, and the other 2 functions are really good. You can get Uncontrollable Fury, which you put on Vader, and if there's a high ability character on the table and Vader doesn't fight, then they lose 2 force. So, if you intend to avoid Vader, you can do some damage that way. And just watch out. Lord Vader, I believe, is immune to Uncontrollable Fury. He's gained some patience there. And it also cancels Presence of the Force, right? Presence of the Force is that effect where it adds a dark side and a light side icon to the location. So this is a good way for the dark side to invade Yavin 4 if you're playing Throne Rune mains, but you can cancel it. So now they can't get there again. In Reflections 2, sometimes the Agents of the Black Sun deck starts Presence of the Force as their one starting effect on the Coruscant site to allow you to flip the objective basically on turn 1. And then, if you're starting hand, you have Clash of Sabers, you can cancel Presence of the Force. And now, instead of their possible 3 starting effects, they sacrifice that to get that 1 starting effect, which you've then canceled. And You Are Beaten gets you the ability to cancel Uncontrollable Fury. You can get I'm Your Father. I actually don't know what that does. I'm not sure if that's good or not. But these are 2 cards that reward a lot of experience with the game and just a lot of reps, and they're very strong. So that's my combo number 5.
Well, I'd be curious to hear what people think of these combos, what combos they would add to this list. We might do a part 2. This is kind of fun to think about the interactiveness and sort of the synergies here, because there's so many cards, and we're just talking retro. Obviously, it gets much more complex. We get V cards, but it's sort of fun to see these building blocks. And I think things like the Super Falcon are also really helpful for new players to sort of think about how you can stack cards. And I mean, it's way easier to also think about combos with characters and ships than it is with red cards, because red cards, I think, are a little daunting sometimes.
Well, and a lot of these cards are solid on their own, right? So why not add in the combo elements? I mean, Order to Engage is good, Rebel Barrier is good, and they're even better together, right? Same thing with the pieces of the Super Falcon.
Yep, absolutely. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Thanks so much, Matthew, for kind of walking us through some combos, and we'll probably be back with more ideas here. But that's all for today. So we'll catch everybody next time.